your serious one.
Yeah.
So joining you live from the World Championship 2023 in Barcelona, the Living Legend podcast.
So
Perfect.
have at it.
Well, Bill,
Yeah,
you, might as well,
okay.
you might as well be the host then, because you're back from Cali. Or but
Yeah.
no, it wasn't California. Where were you, Bill? Where were you last week? Because you weren't here last week. Give us a rundown.
Well, first of all, hello everyone,
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah.
and
Hello.
welcome to the Living Legends podcast. I am Bill. I will be the host for today. We have a lot to talk about. As sort of mentioned, I was mysteriously absent last week, so I'll definitely touch on that. But first, just to introduce everyone once again, I am Bill. Joining me as always are my two lovely co-hosts. We have Az from Go Again Gaming. Say hello.
Hello. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a pretty loose one. A lot of cards come out, and cards that are still coming out over the last few days. So we're going to touch on some of the standout ones and maybe revisit it on future podcasts as well. But yeah, that's me. I mean, we've got Kel as well.
We're going to be talking mostly about cards today, and joining us as our second right-hand man, third man. How many hands do we have? We have Kel.
How many hands? Hello. Yeah, it's gonna be a spoiler discussion video talking about a lot of heavy hitter stuff. I imagine that the following video will be recapping just everything else that we don't talk about today. But they basically condensed the spoiler season down into like 2 days. Well, we're here partway through second day, so almost everything has been released that is going to be released, and then everything else is going to be spoiled from the celebrational. So
Yeah, so lots of really interesting discussions going on as well around a lot of these cards. Something that I've noticed people mention more often than not as these cards get revealed, especially for ones like my spoiler, which just came out as of recording today, the Olympia rare specialization helmet. LSS is making good rare equipment. Like, all of these are actually pretty solid pieces of equipment. That we've seen thus far as like the rare specializations. I did see some discussion around whether or not specialization equipment are good. I think the argument that was made was that it sort of pigeonholes somebody into a specific type of playstyle, but I don't know if that's necessarily the case.
I don't know if it is the case either, especially since the heroes pigeonhole themselves to their own playstyles, right? And this is something we've talked about before, where you can make like a really powerful piece of equipment, make it a specialization, and then not have to really worry about other heroes like breaking it or whatever.
Definitely.
And then the hat specifically, so there's a cycle. So I guess we could talk about all of them eventually, but there's a cycle. Every single hero in heavy hitters gets a rare specialization hat. There's one for every hero, and it's interesting because it feels like the hat slot is like one of the more spendy slots in terms of like monetary value, right? Because you want your crown, and now there's a bunch of hats, including a new legendary hat, and they're trying to. It looks like they're trying to like be like, yo, you can wear whatever hat you want. You don't have to wear the crown hat, which I think is good. If these end up being good, it'll be very consumer friendly. We'll see. We'll see if everyone just wears the crown anyway. But we can talk about those today.
Yeah, because they all block for 2, I think.
Yes, I believe they all block for 2 in varying capacities. I think some of them are temper. I think there's one of them that has Guardwell, which is the new mechanic. I could be wrong. I might be thinking of the new
one of them
legendary.
One of them does, but I think it is the legendary. Yeah, I think the legendary one has Guardwell, which is weird. It's like a worse temper. It's weird. I don't know, but well, not.
It's
I don't know. It's weird.
It's battle worn, but all or nothing. Like it's battle worn 2.
It feels like temper, but they really don't want you to block the second time. It's like you can only block once, and then you can use this effect. Where temper cards, you can block once and then maybe block again, or use its effect where the Guardwell just is like, nope, you can do both, but you can't block.
Maybe
the second time.
maybe that's a good place to start then, actually, because this is a legendary card, which is obviously revealed, and that's called Balance of Justice. So we'll read out Guardwell. I might as well read it out here. First of all, the art is fantastic. It looks like it's like Valkyrie style woman on the art, and everyone was like, "Oh, who's this? Who's this character?" And I think also the lady in your art as well, Kel, that you revealed today. Also, people are asking, "Oh, who's that?"
I mean,
see more of these.
I literally
women.
I literally put it in the video that she's the best new character that's not a hero in the set.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go.
But yeah, so this is cool art as well from Sebastian Giacobino. Sorry if I've
Sebastian Jacobino, I believe.
Jacobino. But depicting this sort of Valkyrie-esque art. And this is a 2-block generic equipment head with an instant ability which says destroy this, draw a card, activate this ability only if an opponent has drawn 2 or more cards this turn. So that could be a pointer at where the meta might go, or maybe something in the future where people are drawing lots of cards, and obviously gold allows you to do that fairly easily. So that's quite cool. And then the Guardwell, which we was alluding at, is when the combat chain closes, if this has defended, put -1 counters on it equal to its defense. So yeah, reading that, reading the card, I still don't understand it really.
Oh, it just means
when the combat.
Yeah, you can only block with it one time. It goes from 2 defense to 0 immediately.
Yeah.
So like we were kind of mentioning, like it's the thing that immediately comes to mind is breaking scales for whatever reason. That's like the first instinctually, that's the first battle worn card that comes to my mind. But breaking scales, you're allowed to block with it one time, and then it sticks around until you use its ability. And that's basically what this is going to be. It blocks for 2 one time, and that's it. Just in one sort of burst. Only blocks for 2, then does not block for the rest of the game. It doesn't destroy itself on block, but it does destroy itself on its ability.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Out of the 3 main ones that they use, this is probably the worst because it gives you the least amount of options, because Temper is kind of the same thing, right? So like a card with Temper 2, you can block with it once, right? And then it gets a -1 counter, and then you can block with it again, and then it gets destroyed. Whereas this one, you can only block with it once, period. Then it blocks for 0. You don't have the option to block with it a second time for 1. So I think it's actually worse than Temper.
Yeah, something I did see though, and something that I think was kind of touched on as we were just chatting a little bit, the helmet slot is a weird space for a lot of decks, and a lot of heroes specifically, because there aren't very many good helmets in the game. And like when Crown of Providence came out, I know that everybody was still really locked in on Arcanite Skullcap being just the best hat in the game. And there were people that were like, I don't think that this is going to take over.
I literally had people that were like, oh, Skullcap's way better still. Like it's still, and then like no one uses it now. Like it's like your budget option.
It used to be the thing, didn't it? Like everybody was using it.
I paid full ticket at like the height of when Skullcap was expensive. I paid like 350 Canadian dollars for my Skullcap. And when I did and I played with it, I was like, this card sucks. This card is not good.
Well, it's just boring, right? Like all it does is block and gives you Arcane Barrier 3. Like that's all it does. I paid $200 for mine, but mine's a cold foil. So
thanks.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, so there are some people that are dunking on this headpiece for just like not being Crown of Providence. I think that this card could definitely see, depending on how the meta shifts, I think it could reasonably see some play, because it's basically, in a way, it is better than Crown of Providence if you activate it, because you don't have to bottom a card to draw a card. You just straight up get +1 card, and it doesn't cost you anything. It is just if your opponent has cast Art of War or Blood Rush Bellow or whatever this turn, draw a card.
Or if there's some weird cases where you can still draw for this. Like, so if your opponent has like 2 Ponders, they will draw 2 cards, and then you could crack this at instant speed before the turn is over to draw a card, so you have an extra card on your turn. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's
Also,
interesting.
something that I think is nice about Guardwell specifically is with this, you can block with it on the turn that your opponent has drawn 2 cards and then use its effect.
Yeah.
You don't have to choose either or. So I think that that's pretty nice too. You can still get the value of both sides of it. So I do like this card. I think that this is going to be like potentially a solid option. Again, if like Fi becomes a real thing. There's a spoiler card that is very good for Fi, by the way, in this in something that we're going to be talking about today. One of the Majestics that was spoiled. It's basically the opposite of Salt the Wound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that Fi potentially has some gas here, and like we were saying, ponders, gold tokens. Like there's going to be a lot of gold, potentially still a lot of silver. There's going to be a million ways for people to draw cards. So I don't think that this is going to be as dead as it might seem like it would be, because right now in our current meta, drawing more than 2 cards on your turn, or I guess 2 or more cards, doesn't really happen. But also we don't have heavy hitters yet, so who's to say?
This is one of the
while we're
cards.
on the...
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, just while we're on the subject of hats, we could touch on the other ones as well, the other rare ones, because I know you spoiled one of those today, or the Spike Feeders did, I should say. Because a lot of the helmets we'll go back to what you were going to say in a minute, Kel, but a lot of these helmets do block for 2, and stapled onto them is, well, they're specializations for 1, which means the designated hero are the only one that can use it, but you still got the block 2 on there, whether it's Temper or Battle Worn or whatever, or Blade Break, etc. But you've also got a bit of synergy on that hat as well, so you can actually still go to that hat rather than your standard Crown of Providence, Balance of Justice, whatever we were talking about just then, and choose these rare hats, because they still block for 2 in your designated hero, and they have synergy behind it as well, which could also get you a bit of value rather than just the generic good stuff, which can only happen once in a while. You've got value generator on your hat from the off, which synergizes with your hero. What was you going to say, Cal, before we maybe touch on those again on the hats?
Yeah, so Balance of Justice is one of those cards that I look at, and I think it is powerful enough that if the card is undervalued at launch, I will buy like copies of high rarity versions to make sure I have them, because I've seen this happen in other card games too. Quite famously, well, maybe it's not famous, but an example of this is just great hindsight. It was back when I was really into Magic. I was starting to play and getting into Commander, and Cyclonic Rift was a bulk rare. So I bought like a bunch of foil Cyclonic Rifts, and now they're worth like, I don't know, like 60, 70, 80 bucks, something like that. Same with Guardian Project, and then Smothering Tithe, and then there's another one, Anointed Procession. So there's a bunch of cards that I'm just like, oh, these cards are sweet for like these formats that I like, and they're super cheap. And so I just bought like 8 of them because they were like $1. And so like, I don't think this card's gonna be $1, but what I'm saying is, if the set comes out and this card's like $20 bucks, I'm probably gonna buy like a couple of them, because this.
Yes, I mean we're getting to that stage now. We're getting to that stage now as well. Like Magic has got a massive card pool. We're getting to that stage now where Flesh and Blood's card pool is expanding, with every single set. And there will be a time where something like Balance of Justice is just like ridiculously good. Or, another card that is absolute garbage, like Frontline Scout. Garbage rare from Monarch is actually good because you look at the opponent's hand. And there's actually a card in this set which says look at the opponent's hand, which is quite cool. But, going off the rails a little bit there, a bit extreme with my card choice of Frontline Scout. Leave a comment in the section below if you know what that does.
No cheating.
Don't go by Frontline Scouts. Say that.
Don't go. Get your play sets. You never know.
An example of something for Flesh and Blood that I did buy a bunch of just because I like the card, because the art's really good. When I realized that Exude Confidence was like $1.50 on TCG Player, I literally bought I bought like $25 worth of them. I own like 20 or 30 of them because like they were like $1 or something. I'm like, this card's cool, and make a nice little binder page, even if even if not. But also, I don't know. It could be good someday. 0 for 4, good ability. I don't know.
Yeah. That's a much better suggestion than Frontline Scout. Anyway,
it also has better art. I gotta say.
it does. Yeah, absolute holy Thibel.
Exactly.
Right.
One thing I don't.
But anyway,
one thing I don't know before I move on is the Balance of Justice. We don't know if it comes in like alternate art, because we have seen a lot of like legendaries in the past equipment come in like this extended art. We don't know if this comes in extended art yet. So
yeah,
interested to see.
Haven't been told about any of the. No, have we?
No Marvels or alternate art so far.
Any Marvels? Yeah.
Yeah.
We do know that there are Marvels in the set though, right? Like
yeah,
heroes.
the product knowledge. Oh, so we know the heroes. Yeah, that's right. We know the heroes because we can see them on the hero page. But other than that, I don't even know if we're gonna get any other than that.
Yeah, but also that actually ties in really nicely with the next card that I want to talk about. Mainly because that was a really good segue. But next one I want to talk about, the spoilers, is Aurum Aegis, however you pronounce it. It's the Victor specialization, so it's the Guardian Legendary Shield.
Oh yeah, the gold shield.
Yes. So it has Temper 2, and it counts as a gold, and that is it. That is its entire text box. Right now, I don't care about how this card plays. I am defeated that this is not extended art because all of the shields that we've seen, all the legendary shields at least, have been extended art, and they're gorgeous. They're so good. So the fact that this isn't extended art actually makes me pretty sad.
I mean, they could totally make it extended art because it's only like 3 lines of text without the reminder text. It's like 1 line, Victor specialization, then this is a gold, then temper. That's it.
Without the reminder text, it is 8 words.
Yeah. It blocks 2. Yeah. This is a funny card. It's a legendary, by the way, everyone. For the audio only folks out there. When I first saw this, like this counts as a gold, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I don't think this works the way it does as it would in Magic. Whereas in Magic, if you have an item that says this is a clue, then it has the abilities of being a clue or like a food or something like that. Whereas I don't think you can crack this for 2 and draw a card, right? I think it just counts as a gold for other purposes, like for cash in and stuff, right?
That's a very interesting. I think you're correct, because all of the things that we have, it's like, create. So for example, it's a create a vigor token. It doesn't have the type line of being a vigor token or a gold or whatever, right? Like it is just straight up like it is a gold. It has this effect. Like a gold is a generic token item. So a gold is just an item, and then it has the ability to do that. I don't know that that's an inherent part of gold. So I'm pretty sure that it just counts as a gold. So it's like if you want to sacrifice a gold for an effect, you would be able to sacrifice the shield, but it doesn't have the pay to sack this draw card. I'm relatively certain that that's how this works.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure the way you use this card is that you start the game with this and then you cash it in, right? You block with it early and then you cash it in with cash in.
Yeah, I'm reasonably certain that's how it works, because gold, like a gold, doesn't have an inherent text box. Like gold tokens do, but I don't think that this counting as a gold makes it have the ability. Because otherwise, I think they would give. If it did, I think they would give it the reminder text, like it has to sack this draw card.
Yeah, because it has the reminder text for all the other crap, including like the Victor specialization. So
yeah. That's another thing you can do as well with the Golden Sun, because you're already going to have a gold out. So if you draw the Golden Sun, you can destroy your shield and then come in for 10 overpower straight away with the Golden Sun if you wanted to do that. If you wanted to cash your shield in. But yeah, I think everyone's right. I think that's how it works. You know, it says this counts as a gold, so it's not saying this is a gold. It's just this counts as a gold for the purposes of other effects. You know, so I think you're on the money there with that. No pun intended. But yeah, it's a fun one.
There's actually another card that I want to talk about, because I think Az was the one that mentioned that it's interesting that they have maybe it was Kel. It was either one of you. Obviously, we've only been talking to between the three of us.
Yeah.
But either one of you mentioned that specializations are nice because they can print a type of equipment or an effect
Oh.
for a specific hero and not worry about the class.
Yeah, I said that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Cal, that reminded me that I also wanted to talk about the Betsy helmet that was revealed. So yeah, I want to talk about Good Time Chapeau, which is Betsy's specialization. So it's a Guardian equipment head. So because it's a Guardian equipment, my original point is moot because originally I was like, oh, this effect would be really good in Olympia.
It would.
But it's a Guardian equipment. It has Temper 2, which again, for a rare equipment, Temper 2 is actually quite solid. And then it has a repeatable effect on it, which we don't really see much anymore. It's action, destroy a gold you control. Your next attack this turn gets, when this attacks a hero, wager a might and a vigor token with them, and then go again. So if this was in Olympia, it would be extremely good. I know that that's like
really
a non-starter of an argument right now, but like Olympia's effect is just the first time each of your attacks wins a wager, create a gold. So if this were just a regular generic like helmet, this would be incredibly strong.
God, yeah, it replaces itself straight away if you win, and then you
So-
just get all the stuff. Yeah.
I think this card is really good in draft. It's probably good. It might be good in constructed too. I read a lot of these in like limited as like being really powerful, like signpost cards. They're like, draw you towards playing one hero or another. But if we don't have anything more to say about this card, have you read the Legendary Warrior chest then?
I have actually. Yeah, let's talk about that one because it's also a very interesting card. I think it has the potential to be really, really strong. So this one is by Eswardi Thurianto. Shout out, great guy. Just a cool dude.
The art on this one is like really cool. I love like the mannequins, like this weird snake statue. It's really cool. I dig it.
Yeah,
a lot.
it's like a three-headed snake or something or other. It looks really, really cool. It's what the grains of blood spill is the name of the chest piece. It's what it's sort of sitting on. This is a legendary warrior equipment chest. It also has Temper 2, just printing Temper 2 on everything, which again I'm not upset about. And whenever a weapon attack you control hits, you may pay a resource. If you do, create a vigor token.
Yeah.
And for those of us who don't remember things off the top of their head like I do, this is the token that at the start of your turn you destroy it and gain a resource. So it's
That's right.
basically tectonic plating, but for warrior.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Kind of
Yeah, so
cool.
you're banking your leftover resources to then just go off on the next turn, aren't you? Essentially.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah, if you
that's
have
pretty
leftover
sick.
resources, you can just carry them over to the next turn with Grains of Blood Spill.
yeah, what's cool about this card is that it's
Cool.
not a once per turn effect. It's just
No.
whenever a weapon you control hits, so you can do this multiple times. Potentially by using the card that I spoiled that lets you attack multiple times. So, but yeah, no, I think this is cool. And the reason I brought this up is because Bill mentioned they don't often do repeatable effects on legendaries anymore, and this is a repeatable effect. And so anytime they do that, it immediately stands out to me as being potentially very strong. And I think this is like potentially very strong, right? I don't know. This seems like it might be a good way to, a good replacement for Tunic for some warriors. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seems good.
Honestly,
Yeah,
I think so. It blocks for 2 and it banks extra resources. And like warriors love playing blues anyway.
Exactly.
Because you need to
Yeah.
pay for buffs and then weapon attacks and then whatever. So if you're not playing something like Decimator Great Axe or anything that costs you 3 resources to attack, I think this card's great. Like I think this card's great in Kasai.
Yeah.
Like maybe it's not quite as good because I mean Courage of Bladehold is so insane in that deck when you're going off with blood on your hands.
Well,
But like Dorinthia, you're
But,
only
like,
attacking like twice.
I don't know if New Kasai is even going to run blood on her hands because it doesn't work with her
True.
new ability. So in CC, like I think this might be the better option if you're not. Well, yeah, old Kasai is like you can't play old Kasai at all. Actually, now that I think about it, because she's LL'd in Blitz.
Yeah, that's
so,
actually true. So
yeah.
I was thinking of old Kasai.
Yeah, blood on the hand. You could use blood on the hands in CC, but it wouldn't do anything because it's copper related, isn't it, rather than gold?
Yeah, I mean, it would.
It's
I don't
easy
know
to forget that though.
if you have some jank way to generate copper, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
But-
the I forget what the name of the card is, but there's an attack buff that gives you a copper on hit.
Oh, High Striker. Yeah.
There's that one. There's also a warrior specific one. It's like Outland Skirmish. That's what it's called.
Oh yes, yeah, that's it.
There's a couple other ones too, right? There's like
but like
yeah, there's a couple
this
other
is
ones. Yeah.
if that's the only thing you're doing with your copper tokens, like I don't know, I don't think that works out quite as much because I mean Kasai Blitz original Kasai was able to make like 2 coppers a turn generally.
Yeah.
Mostly like most of the time more than that as well because of Spoils of War. So yeah, so I think the Grains of Blood Spill is very good, especially in a non-Blood on Her Hands Kasai deck. I think that this is also honestly just good in Dorinthia as well.
Yeah.
Because you were using Courage of Bladehold as like basically 3 resources, but this lets you bank extra resources from blues that you've pitched and whatever, and lets you have more consistent turns, which is what Dorinthia really wants anyway. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. I think this
resources-
card's great.
Yeah, and those
Yeah.
resources can be used for anything as well,
Mhm.
rather than just making your swords cost less. They can actually fuel other things, which are obviously in this set now, the new stuff.
Yep.
And along with the new stuff is all the new weapons as well. There's loads of stuff that's come out, but there's like this hot streak, for instance, I think is really cool. The fact that it attacks, you pay 1 to attack with it. When this is defended by 1 or more attack action cards, it gets go again until end of turn. So it just plays so many mind games. You can just swing for 2, and then they're like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to block, so it's not going to get go again. But then you can just stack a wager on it. You can stack loads of things on it, and then you're getting loads of value potentially out of the Grains of Blood Spill. You could pay, you could bank resources that way for a better turn next time. There's so many. That's why I love these old school esque sets. Where there's a lot of reactions. There's a lot of things that happen after you've declared blocks or before you've declared blocks, and the mind games and the Welcome to Wraith parallels are very, it's very sort of nuts and bolts, isn't it? And a lot of things in between. So I do love all of that.
Yeah.
For the oh, go ahead. I was gonna say I was gonna read out what Hot Streak does for the audio people.
Oh, yeah.
So
no, go for it.
it's a weapon. It's a fiery gladius, basically. It's a one-handed sword that attacks for 2 and has once per turn action for 1 resource to attack. And like it says when this is defended by 1 or more attack action cards, Hot Streak's attacks gain go again this turn, which is interesting because it's on board. Like your opponent sees it coming, so they just they could choose not to do it, which is interesting. It's a rare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They leave themselves open to it as well. So if they don't block it, then they could just be open to a shitload of damage from reactions over the top. If they do block it, then they have to then think about what's coming afterwards. So it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't, which is why I love stuff like that. I love bolt and shot, as a ranger. If you block it, then fair enough, I'm just going to Arsenal and pass. If you don't block it, I'm going to be able to do something else. So it's just like the damned if you do, damned if you don't with the hot streak, which is probably one of my favorite weapons. And as Olympia, I think he loves that. It could just be, it's a rare weapon, so I don't know how good it is, but I just think that duality of if you block, okay, I'm going to be able to do something else. If you don't block, okay, then I can use my Grains of Blood Spill to then vigor up my next turn, or I can attack, react over the top, and deal you a load of damage. I think that sort of design space is very cool with the start in play situation. So yeah, that's probably one of my favourite cards actually so far is a weapon. So there you go. There's a hint. That's my spiel for one of my top 5. I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Another card that I want to talk about, obviously, because we're talking about warrior cards, I do want to talk about Kel's spoiler card.
Yes.
So I might as well do that first, actually, because there's another Warrior Majestic that I really want to talk about that I think is maybe going to be a standout card of the set. But yeah, Kel's spoiler card, Shift the Tide of Battle, is a warrior attack reaction. Do you want to talk about it, actually, Kel, since it's your card?
Sure. Yeah. So first of all, if you haven't seen the video yet, go watch it. It's only like 5 minutes long. And especially if you like metal, the intro, I think, turned out very well. and I think my voice acting for it turned out also very well. So Shift the Tide of Battle is a it is a warrior attack reaction. It's a 0 cost, yellow pitch, 3 block. It says target warrior attack with attack greater than its base gets go again. So I would like to point out that is just any warrior attack, doesn't have to be a weapon. As long as it's a warrior attack, you can do that. So if you're doing an attack action, you can get go again on that, which I think is really, really cool. And there are warrior attack actions in this set. And then it also says the next time an opposing hero is dealt damage this turn, create an agility token. And it doesn't have to be from that attack. It can be from subsequent attacks, because this is the kind of like the plunder run text. It just says the next time an opposing hero is dealt damage this turn, create an agility token. So the way I describe this in the video is that this is like you get go again now, and then you get go again on layaway. Because an agility token pops at the beginning of your turn, unlike a quicken token. So it doesn't pop immediately. You bank it for the next turn. And this is a great way to do to have consistent go again across multiple turns. And so, yeah, this is fantastic for multiple warriors. I think it's just a really, really playable card that a lot of decks are going to be running full playsets of, if not, two copies of. Because, like, for example, Dorinthia, you always get go again if your Dawnblade has a +1 counter on it, because its attack is always greater. Really good synergy with a lot of other weapons too, like Raiden, Duskbane, just any weapon that buffs itself, or any hero that buffs their weapons, like Bolton. This is also a yellow pitch card for Bolton too. I think this is just like really solid. And then for limited, I think it's incredible for Kasai in particular. Both warriors, but Kasai getting that go again, being able to attack multiple times with your Centauri sabers is going to be great. So that's my little spiel for Shift the Tide. Oh, and then the art, obviously, I think the art is incredible. And the character from it is like my favorite new non-hero character. I called her I said this is Javazon and Boar Squad, because she's got there's like a boar in the background. It's like a boar and then like 2 other dudes, but this is Javazon and Boar Squad. Rise up.
Quality.
So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I think it is very relevant to when you're mentioning this card. It's so efficient in what it does. Like you were saying, it's so easy to have a warrior attack have greater attack than its base. And this basically trades off the Glint the Quicksilver drawing a card to giving your attack go again next turn, which I think is, in terms of warrior, like pretty equivalent value. It feels weird to say that, but like, especially I think in pretty much every warrior deck, you want your optimal hand has like a buff that realistically also has a way to give your attack go again, and the giving the attack go again part is the important part.
Yeah.
So this like helps out your future plays, and again, like we were mentioning with Grains of Blood Spill, just makes your turns a little bit more like efficient and more consistent as well. So I think this card's great. I really, really think it's great. I think it's very
it's not a
strong.
lot
Like
of-
you were mentioning, it's a yellow too. Like works
Yeah,
with Bolton.
blocks for 3 as well, and it was
Blocks for 3.
obvious, and it blocks for 3, and it works with what I was saying earlier about hot streak. So if you deal damage, if they don't block it, damned if you do, damned if you don't. What that is the warrior way. It's the reaction over the top that you have to be worried about, and then obviously your next turn is then accentuated massively as a result. And warrior never had anything like that before. You don't get a load of they never had a load of these tokens like vigor, might, gold cracking off at the start of their turn, and then giving their turn a massive extension or extra buff or go again or resources. So giving the warriors on hits basically is just, I think it's going to make them a lot better. But yeah, it's pretty sick.
I think so too. And thank you for the segue, because speaking of on hits,
Yeah,
I think this card's kind of crazy actually. This is another Warrior Majestic warrior action that was revealed today. It's called Commanding Performance. It is
I
one
don't
resource.
Like this one. Don't like this one.
Yeah, you wouldn't like this one. That makes a lot of sense.
Go away.
So this is a warrior action. Costs 1, pitches for 1, blocks for 3. It's a majestic, so that's the only color you get. Your next warrior attack this turn gets +3, not weapon attack, just warrior attack. And then until end of turn, your warrior attacks get, so this is for all warrior attacks this turn. When this is defended by one or more attack action cards, destroy a card in the defending hero's arsenal.
This is my first time seeing
Yeah.
this card. I haven't seen this card yet.
Wow.
I love this card. This card's great.
Yeah, I think this card's
Yeah.
crazy.
When this is defended by one or more attack action cards, yeah, let's talk about the damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
Exactly. That's right.
That's great.
Oh man.
I
Yeah,
love that they're
Fab-
making more
very
effects like
strong.
this to make
Well, it's just
CNC
forcing-
less unique.
Yeah.
Which I think is good.
Forcing interactions, and damned if you do, damned if you don't. Again, that's come up again, and again, this is great because obviously you might have a vigor that pops at the start of your turn. You can play this for nothing then, because or if you've banked resources from Grains of Blood Spill, this only costs 1, so you then play it, buff your next warrior attack. That next warrior attack might actually have go again because an agility popped before it. You might then be able to cycle a gold to get another card in. You know, it's just ridiculous. That's why I'm thinking Olympia is going to be one of my favourites because it's all of this stuff is just going to crack, and you're going to be able to wager so much stuff. Getting the wagers through is going to be the part to see if that is, you know, trying to worth squeeze through. But yeah, nevertheless, you know, this is a pretty sick card. Even though I know I'm going to hate it being played against me.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things to mention as well, or one of the things to keep in mind, I guess, when it comes to wager as a mechanic, as it exists in 2 separate playstyles. Because correct me if I'm wrong, wager is only in Guardian and Warrior. Like brutes don't have wager cards; they have beat chest.
I mean, they could play wager cards, but I don't think they don't have them on the mechanic on the hero. No.
Yeah,
Not on
I
the
don't think
hero,
it matters as much.
but I feel that there are like dual class cards that have wager on them, like brute
so.
guardian cards.
Awesome. But yeah, anyway,
yes,
from just a
there is a card called Wage Might. When this attacks a hero, you may wager a might token with them. Is a 3/7 brute guardian card. So yeah, there are some wager cards, but
okay, yeah, but realistically, as like a main mechanic, it seems as though it's mostly Guardian and Warrior, which I think makes a lot of sense because Guardians have the way of making their attacks have evasion of some variety. Like they have the ability to give them overpower, dominate, depending on what hero you're playing. You have pummel in the deck, obviously important. If you're not playing a Guardian without pummel, I don't know what you're doing. But I think that Warrior as a wager class makes more sense because you look back to Dorinthia as a deck, and like realistically, they're looking to get 1 damage over. That's like the baseline of what they're trying to do. They're trying to get exactly 1 damage over to trigger their on hits, trigger Dorinthia's ability, to trigger Dawnblade, just to accrue value. You're looking to get 1 damage. So if you're wagering and you're only getting through that 1 damage, that wins you the wager. That's all you need to do. Yeah. So I think as a mechanic in Warrior, wager makes a lot of sense. And I think that because of that, Olympia is going to be really good. With an asterisk, depending on what gold payoffs we get, because right now there aren't very many payoffs for the amount of gold that Olympia can make, and just having them be like 2 resources draw card is not super exciting. Because like the argument is you use your blues and turn them into a resource and a card, but you kind of want your blues to attack or to pay for your attacks and your shenanigans and whatever. So.
Yeah, I think with Wario, with all of these new tools and breakpoints, the +1, you might be able to run more things like CNC and things that then have go again because of the agility, because of the +1. You've got a CNC of a breakpoint with go again. You know, all those attacks that you wouldn't necessarily run in old Warrior decks, you might be able to use now because you've got more resources floating from Grains of Blood Spill. You've got the vigors that crack to give you more resources. You've got go again and +1 that crack all the start of your turn if you've won a wager the turn before. That it's just going to be a different way to play it as well. And you know, there's a lot of, as we've seen in this set, attack action warrior cards that might want to be played. I don't know whether that's whether it's going to be or whether it's going to be completely optimized and constructed, but it's just giving us another option to play it rather than just weapon heavy.
Or if Olympia is just going to be another Riptide, where everyone's like, oh, he's got this one niche mechanic that's cool. Oh wait, it's not that good. Whoops.
Yeah, it could well
I
be.
sure hope not. I think that Olympia has the possibility of being a really interesting hero.
Yeah.
Again, because warriors are already so like live or die on mind games, I think that Wager, like I've said, makes a lot of sense. And I think that it could be a lot of fun as well. Maybe not to play against, because obviously right now, against a good warrior, games can feel pretty one-sided and pretty miserable. But also, as we've sort of mentioned in a lot of previous discussion podcasts, the thing that I find very interesting about Warrior is that the more your opponent knows about your deck as the Warrior, the harder the game is, and it's like a much bigger delta than if you're playing a different deck. Like if I was playing a Runeblade or something, and my hero and the opponent sitting across from me, like knows how to play against Viserai, how to whatever. Like they have a marginally better chance, but against Dorinthia, it actually is like the difference between winning or losing the game sometimes. Knowing, like, being able to run through your head, what are the likely attack reactions they have right now? What should I play around? That sort of thing, instead of just, oh, I know what my opponent's game plan is going to be. I'll generally play accordingly.
That was the issue. That was the issue, though, is that people could essentially just work out, okay, if they have a +3 over the top here, i.e. my next turn is affected this way, or if they have a route that's going to equate to 7 value or whatever.
Yeah.
But
if they have a route, I'm dead.
If they have a route, I'm dead. It's basically the case. But all of these extra things gives them extra maths to think about and extra other things that they might screw up, because there's lots of stuff to now think about. There's vigors, there's agilities, there's +1 on the thing, there's gold. All of these things that are now tied behind warriors potentially hitting you is just more outcomes that you're going to have to think about on the spot, which might not be able to get you out of that situation like it did before. Which is why I'm liking the Olympia and the wages and stuff, because I like all of the inertias, blood rots, frailties, just extra things that your opponent has to think about, and couple that with the warrior mind games. Like you say, it's a perfect match for that mechanic and that game style. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yes. I think I might be a warrior main after this set.
Oh, this was foreseen when you picked. What was that one set where you just picked a bunch of warrior cards? I think it was Everfest.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, you just picked like
Dynasty.
warrior cards.
Is Dynasty.
Was it Dynasty? Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't have a podcast for Everfest.
Oh, true.
Oh wow, yeah, of course.
But yeah. This was foretold in the prophecy. That Az was to become a warrior main eventually.
I mean,
yeah, I think there comes a time when, as much as I love Azalea and stuff, I need to play other things, and this probably will be the deck that I build next. Will be Olympia, although I don't know how good it's going to be, but I don't care about that. I just want to build it because I like the look of it, and I've always liked warrior, really. So we'll see how it goes.
Warrior's been like my 3rd or 4th favorite class for a very long time.
And just a cool deck.
It is cool.
The people at LSS know this, which is I assume why they gave me a sweet warrior card. I do remember a long time ago, when Uprising came out. Was it before? It was around there. James asked me what my favorite class was, and I just kind of wrote, did a little rundown of it, of my classes, and Warrior's like up there. Dorinthia, if you go back on my channel, I have multiple videos on Warrior deck text, Dorinthia, Kasai, Axe Dorinthia. It just never
fun,
just never
got ya.
Much, but...
Yeah.
Well, Dorinthia was my, and I've said this many times. People who have watched my stuff for a long time. Dorinthia was the hero that I would teach people how to play Flesh and Blood with, because she basically did everything that you need to know. You have to know how to block well. You have to know the reaction step well.
Yeah.
And early Flesh and Blood, a lot of it was knowing how to block against warrior, because there's a lot of nuance. It's more than just like, oh, do they have the +3 or not? Because you have to factor in reprise as well. And you know, like sometimes you choose to not block at all to deny them the reprise, like the bonuses. You're like, oh, if you soul read their Glint the Quicksilver, then you're like, you know what, fine, I'll just take it, and you don't get a draw card, and
Yep.
now you just who cares? Like, I'll take.
That's another thing as well. Like all of these new stuff, you can still use the old stuff with Olympia if you wanted to. So you still got all of those effects that you can throw in the mix when you're playing as well. So it's just a lot to think about, which is good. It really opens up the classes.
Yeah. And for everyone out there, they're talking about Olympia, but my warrior pick is Kasai from this set.
Yeah, she's good.
I think Kasai's like probably I don't know. I think I've said this before. I think Kasai is probably the best hero mechanically in this set. She has 2 abilities. One of them gives you card advantage. The other one gives you resource reduction, and that seems very, very strong.
Yeah, those have both historically been pretty good mechanics to have. So
yeah.
Yep. And they're both free, in that you don't have to do any resources for them. You have to draw a card, or you have to just have cards in your bin, and then you just do it. So I'm not one of those people who makes like meta prediction top tier lists or whatever. But if I was, I would put Kasai high on that for constructed. Kasai and KO are my 2 picks for the set. But anyway,
oh, I'm really excited to build KO. Oh man, am I excited to build KO?
I think KO is
exclusively block or 6 attack things because of his effect. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, KO is interesting. I'll be interested to see the decks and see how powerful they are. Yeah, I don't know. I want to point out a really cool card, since we're still talking about warrior. There's a card called Parry Blade, and Parry Blade is just it's just a really cute, it's a really cute card. So it's a rare warrior one-handed sword, attacks for 2. Notably, it has 0 block, because this is a weapon that can block. So as a once per turn action for a resource to attack, and then it gets +2 block while defending a weapon attack, and then has Blade Break. So Parry Blade is like the first weapon that you can block with, which I think is just kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of cute and fun to point out. So you can draft this thing and have even more health, which I think is like, it's actually like probably pretty good in limited, like heavy hitters limited.
Just fits so well, doesn't it? Because there's loads of one-handed weapons in the set, and you know, the fact that you can draft or pick this up in your sealed pool and actually have +2 defense when you're getting attacked by another hero's weapon, it's just a lot is riding on the weapons, which I think is just so fun. Can't wait to just be like, oh yeah, parry your hot streak that's coming in. It's gonna be a great experience. I think the whole limited and sealed.
I also like the art on the card, just because it's funny to me to think about it in terms of real life, because the sword is just kind of floating it's just floating in a room. It's just like, it's just there. I mean, obviously they're using it to like, oh, here's the backdrop, here's the sword, just to showcase it. But I mean, when you think about it logically, I think it's just kind of funny. It's just a floating.
Yeah.
It's just a floating sword.
Just floating.
Yeah.
Same with hot streak. It's just like levitating above the arena, just like I'm here. It's like a broomstick in Harry Potter or something, just like levitating there in the Quidditch arena.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Hell yeah. I do want to talk about one additional card, just for cards that are like standouts. I think is sort of the idea, at least the way that I've been approaching this discussion today.
Yeah.
There's a Guardian card that I think is going to lead to some pretty insane like punchback turns, like heel turn. Now I'm the beatdown sort of deal. This card's kind of crazy. It's called Prime to Fight.
Mm-hmm.
It is a majestic guardian attack action, blocks for 3, attacks for 9, pitches for 1, and costs 5. So it's a 5 for 9, which doesn't sound great. It sounds pretty like middle of the road. It doesn't have an on hit or anything, but it does have 2 very interesting abilities. If you've controlled a vigor token this turn, this costs 1 resource less to play. If you've controlled a might token this turn, this gets +1 attack. So pretty interesting. This becomes, if you've had a vigor, if you've had a might, this becomes a 4 for 10. Pretty cool. Then you factor in what vigor and might do. This is a 3 for 11.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a stack, don't they? Yeah. Right.
It gets the +1 from the might, and you have a resource floating from the vigor.
Yeah.
So really, it's like, if you have a vigor, break it, this costs 2 less. If you have a might, break it, this gets +2. Kind of.
This
That's pretty cool, yeah.
this is just like Big Chungus card, right? It doesn't have any on hits or anything.
Yeah.
It's just like, here's some damage. That's all it does. It's just a big Chungus.
Yeah,
It's just
large
like,
damage, big man.
Yeah.
Just like one of those turns where you blocked with, let's say you blocked with like 2 cards on your previous turn, and you just happen to have a vigor and a might token in, off your last turn. Say you've defended and you've got a vigor from a clash or whatever. On your next turn you can just present a 3 for 11, and then just be like, yeah, it's just a nice little. I can try and wrestle my way back into this if I've got the right stuff, sort of situation, isn't it? Like you said earlier. But yeah, it's really cool. I like it.
I mean, you can do like insane amounts of damage with this, because you can also prep it with those aura cards that pop at the beginning of your turn and give you like a bunch of damage. So if you do the one from the set that gives you like a +5, that's 16.
16 for 3 resources.
There's some like kind of bad equipment that can make this better, and like say you get this in limited, right? There's some common equipment that just kind of suck but would work with this. Like you just destroy it and get the token. Here, let me try to find them on here. Ooh, this is a so like here's a no, that's not the one I'm thinking of. There's some equipment. Let me try to find them. That they're like, you just break them and you get that token. Here we go. Gauntlet of Might.
Yeah.
Brute Guardian equipment. Destroy this, create a might token, go again. As Blade Break, blocks for 1. So there's a cycle of these that they do all of the tokens. Like one of them is you destroy it, you create a agility. One of them is destroy it, you create a might, and yada yada for all of the tokens in heavy hitters. They're just common pieces, but like normally I think they're just draft chaff. But hey, if you draft that attack we were just talking about, these become maybe cards that win you the game. From fight. Yeah.
It can be pummeled too, which is always fun.
It can be pummeled.
It can turn into a plus. What's the red one? +4 from remember?
To be fair,
so it's 15.
Almost every card in this set can be pummeled. To be honest.
Exactly. Yeah.
Almost every card in the set costs like 2 to 4.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Every card in the set costs $1 billion.
Yeah. There's a couple that don't, and that's a good segue to it might have been a card that Bill was alluding to earlier. It's a generic majestic. It's blue pitch, 0 cost, 3 block, attacks for 2, and it's called Nasty Surprise. And this card, it's a weird one. It says, when an opponent's effect puts this into your graveyard from anywhere, create an agility, might, and vigor token. So what's kind of cool about this is, well, first of all, ninjas like it because it's a 0/3 block 3 yada yada, or 0 blue block 3. Also, it has a 2 attack, so for whatever reason, you can, if you're Benji, you can Benji this in. But if your opponent makes you discard this, say from like, I don't know, Codex of Frailty or something, then you just get all the things. You get agility, might, and vigor. So I think this is an interesting card. I think this is
Codex of Frailty. Hey, Az, how you feeling?
Oh God, go away.
Always got to do my check-in whenever there's a card that just dunks on a ranger card.
Yeah, it's like it's like Seek and Destroy as well. Just destroy all you discard your hand and your arsenal. Okay, I discard this then, and then I get all the things to crack back at you next turn. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, and then they punch you back with that card we just talked about, because they now have a might, agility, and vigor, and so now that 11 attack is a 3 for 11 that has go again because you have an agility token as well.
Exactly.
So they can They can punch you with a hammer too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I mean. It's just a tempo switcher, isn't it? That's what it
Yeah.
is potentially. Yeah. Another thing as well. While we're speaking about ninjas, I think there was another card as well called Tenacity, which is also like the reverse Salt the Wound.
This is This is the one I think
Yes.
Bill was talking about.
Yeah. So I'll read this one out. It's a yellow pitch, 3 block, 2 attack, costs nothing to play. I think it was spoiled by Yuki actually. This one, and it says when this attacks, it gets +X power, where X is a number of defending cards on the combat chain. So that's pretty good if they're doing a huge extensive block against you, and that's normally the case if you're doing ninja stuff. That your combat chain is very large and they're blocking quite a lot. So you can then end with this Tenacity, which could then be like a 0 for 5, maybe I'd say on average, 0 for 5, 6, something like that.
This is an interesting card. This is my first time actually seeing this one. It's interesting because it only does it on attack, so it doesn't count cards that block it. Then it's also interesting in that it's on the combat chain, not this turn, so you still have to have the active chain. So yeah, it definitely is better in a class like Ninja, where you just have constant go-agains without breaking the combat chain.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But
I think it's good design space. That makes all of those caveats means this card isn't just insane, but it could be good in certain decks. Interesting. I think in heavy hitters, limited, this is probably terrible. It's probably not very good at all.
No, exactly. Yeah, I think so.
This is just going to be a 0 for, I don't know, maybe if you did a sword and then somehow gave it go again with Kasai, and then now you attack with this. Maybe it's like a 0 for 4 or 5 if you're lucky. I don't know.
Yeah.
It counts defending cards, which is interesting because it'll count equipment. So there's that as well. But yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting for that card specifically because it plays so opposite to Salt the Wound. It's like Az has been saying, damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's like, okay, am I playing around Tenacity or am I playing around Salt the Wound on this big turn? And if you play into the wrong one or play, I guess, against the wrong one, then you're kind of hooped because it functions very similar. Obviously, it has a much lower ceiling than Salt the Wound does, because you can pretty realistically have 5 attacks on the combat chain, but your opponent can really only block with a maximum of 9 cards if they block with all of their equipment and they drew a card on their turn or something, or on your turn.
Oh, you can block with. Yeah, let me think. Yeah, 9.
Yeah.
There's 4 equipment, 4 cards in hand plus arsenal. So that's base 9. If you drew a card, they can block with more, I guess.
Yeah. So but when would your opponent ever really want to do that? Blow absolutely everything on a singular turn against one of your 3 copies of Tenacity.
So yeah. One of the downsides of this card is that it is exactly. It's opponent dependent, right? So it might not be great for you, and your opponent just might not block in ways that this card's very good. Because I have a lot of experience playing a card that's similar to this with Spreading Plague, and Spreading Plague is a reaction that gives them a Blood Rat Pox for each card that they've blocked with on that particular attack. And sometimes it's great, and sometimes it does nothing. And I have a feeling this might be similar.
Yeah, it's very dependent, isn't it?
I think that's pretty accurate. I think that's a pretty accurate assessment of this card and most opponent dependent cards like Bingo.
Yeah, Bingo's it's its own thing. What? So when I see a card like this, I'm thinking okay, what's the average case scenario on this card? Is it just a 0 for 4? Is that the average amount? Because normally someone will block with 2 cards from hand and then present a 2-card attack back. I would say that's probably the average play for Flesh and Blood, right? block 2 cards, present 2 cards back, maybe plus a card from Arsenal or something like that.
Blocking. What's that? What's blocking?
Yeah, I never heard of that one before. Is that a mechanic?
Yeah, I heard it's something that Guardians like to do.
Something guys.
Something that must have just introduced in this set because I've never blocked before in my life.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So like on average, this is probably just a yellow 0 for 4 with no go again.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, but it has high upside, and potentially sometimes it's just a 0 for 2. I don't know. It's interesting. I think people will play with it for sure. Well, ninjas will play with it for sure. I don't know if anyone else is gonna play with this.
Yeah, again, I think the sort of value in it is the fact that it is played alongside Salt the Wound. It is like you have that mind game of one or the other. And in that way, its existence is kind of interesting because then your opponent will always sort of second guess, like, am I playing against or am I playing around Salt the Wound or Tenacity? Like,
Yeah.
it could always be there. So I don't know. It's just another level of mind games.
I think that's what the game needs as well. It's not like, oh, okay, I know he's going to be playing this Salt the Wound now. You know, it could be a yin or yang situation. You don't know which one of the two it's going to be. You know, and if you make the wrong decision, then you're punished for it. There isn't enough of that in the game at the moment. Everyone just knows what everybody else is doing. So if there's multiple versions of cards that you can use which are similar in a way but not, you might sort of punish those people for assuming it was the thing that it wasn't, basically. And I think that's all part of the game as well, and that's what they're doing here with all of the the reactions and the wagers and stuff. They're bringing the mind games back into the forefront, which is games can be won off of the mind game, off of the bluff. That's a big part of a lot of poker and card games is the bluff. Can you do that? And if you can, then that's just even more skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of skill, anyway, I'm gonna talk about Seduce Secrets. Seduce Secrets is a I don't know if I would call it jank, but it's a 0 cost generic instant, so it doesn't block. It's a yellow pitch card, and it says look at target hero's hand and the top card of their deck. If this was played from Arsenal, draw a card. Yeah. So this is potentially a card that replaces itself by drawing a card if you play it from your Arsenal. So that's like not the worst, and you get to look at the opponent's hand and the top card of their deck. The art is by Sam Yang, and so friend of the podcast, Sam Yang. Well, I'm definitely gonna have to ask him about this art when he comes on and chats with us next. But yeah, this card is interesting. I don't know if it's any good, but yeah, sure.
I think
that's my reaction. Yeah, sure.
I think this card is absolutely amazing. Do you know why? Because it reminds me of a card I said earlier, Frontline Scout, baby.
Hell yeah.
It does have the
front king.
It does have the Frontline Scout if you played from Arsenal draw card text. Yes. There's also like Fervent Forerunner or something like that does something similar.
No, I think Fervent Forerunner is one you're thinking about. Frontline Scout is look at the defending hero's hand. If it's played from Arsenal, it has go again. If you play the Fervent Forerunner from your Arsenal, if it hits, you draw a card. I think
something
looking at it,
like that. This is better than both of those, by the way, because
it's not.
Because this one like draws you actually just draws you a card when you play it from your Arsenal. So like on your turn, you could turn like. Say you somehow Arsenal this card, and then on your turn you play it, and then now you have a 5-card hand, right? Like actually a 5-card hand, and you get to look at the opponent's hand and the top card of their deck, which might be relevant. I don't know how good this is though, because it doesn't block and it requires a little bit of setup and.
I mean, we've spoken about this before. How much is information worth? There was a card. What was it? Lost in Thought. Maybe we spoke about before.
Oh yeah.
The one that revealed. Do you look at the opponent's hand of that one? I think you do, don't you? Do you look at the opponent's hand and discard a card or something?
Well, so
yes, yeah. You look at your opponent's hand, choose a card from it. They put it on the bottom of their deck and create a ponder.
Yeah.
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 Well, see,
Yeah, something like that.
So
the good part about Lost in Thought though is that you take a card from their hand. This card doesn't do that. You just look at it, and you can be like,
yeah,
oh,
you just get
cool.
to see that it's there.
Yeah, you're like, oh, cool. I'm dead next turn.
Yeah, so I mean, you get to evaluate what their turn is going to be, but how valuable is that? You know, it's just like you have to try and figure out whether by looking at their hand on your turn. This is an instant though, I guess, so you're not actually wasting anything by doing this because it replaces itself also. So if you play this first before you do anything else, you draw a card. You're not losing anything, are you? You're just gaining information for nothing. Is
Well,
that
yeah.
right?
Well, yeah. Essentially, but you have to play from your arsenal to draw a card. So
Play
you
from
have
the
to
arsenal,
you
yeah.
have to have that set up.
Yeah, so you can then you can structure your turn on what your value is against what they're going to crack back at you next turn, perhaps. So you can potentially get something out of that because the trade that you're going to make with them just by looking at their hand, your 5 cards for their 5 cards, you know you're going to get more out of it. So you can structure that, I guess, but I just don't know how much that effect is going to really matter in a proper game. You know?
So this card has the same detriments that old traps did. And if folks remember out there, if you're old Flesh and Blood fogey, that you used to only be able to play traps from your arsenal. And so what this card essentially does is, because you draw your hand at the end of your turn in Flesh and Blood, you draw this in your at the end of your turn, right? Now it's your opponent's turn. You have a card in your hand that doesn't block, and all it does is you can play it and look at your opponent's hand while they're killing you with the hand. So you have to sandbag it during their entire turn, right? And then now it's your turn. Now you have this in your hand. You have to also not pitch it and not play it, save it again, stick it in your arsenal, wait till your turn. So you have to wait an entire turn cycle before you can draw a card with this. And this just has to sit in your hand and do nothing. You can't pitch it. You can't play it on your opponent's turn. You can't block it. You have to wait. And so is it worth sandbagging an entire card for a full turn cycle to draw a card? And the answer is probably no. You're probably gonna die because Flesh and Blood is like not a game where you can like turtle around like that. Unless you're playing some weird combo deck or something. Maybe you can do like a combo or something. I don't know, but
yeah, I am a big fan of the you can look at your opponent's hand as they're killing you, and you're like, ah, nice, very good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Awesome.
So unlike a trap, you can technically play this on your opponent's turn. You just don't get a draw card. All you get to do is look at their hand and the top card of their deck, and then you're like, oh, cool, okay. Yeah, no blocks because I played this card that doesn't block. Yeah. So,
something that I think is interesting actually, just as like a thought experiment because it came to mind as we're talking about this. What do you think they would have to do to print a 0-cost instant that just has like unconditional draw a card, or like on your opponent's turn draw a card?
Yeah, like Sigil of Solace, but it draws a card instead of gaining life.
Yeah, but draws a card. I feel like that card is not printable in Flesh and Blood.
No, it's too good. Like so
I think that card's too good.
So my thoughts are like, if it's blue, obviously it's too good. If it's yellow, I think it's still too good. And if it's red, it's nuts and Dromai. So it's like,
yeah,
I don't think you can print that card. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way that you could use that effect unless it had a gigantic downside, which made it unplayable.
Yeah, I mean that's like,
yeah.
Also,
lost an intellect next turn or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
like I still think people would play that. Like,
no, they would for sure. Like people play. So in competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, people play cards that are like, draw 2 cards now, but next turn you can't, or you don't draw for the next 2 turns or whatever. And it's like, who cares? I'm just gonna win this turn, so I'm just gonna play all these cards and kill you now, and then I don't care. Like Kano would love that card, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
You're just like, oh, I have an instant that on your turn allows me to draw a card. Cool, thank you.
Yeah. I will note a couple things with the Seduce Secrets. You can play it with Codex of Bloodrot by putting this card from your hand down into your arsenal with Codex of Bloodrot, and then you could play it to draw a card. So that's not nothing. But more use case for Codex of Bloodrot. And then also in Limited, you could use this to draw a card and get free attacks with your Kasai, I guess. So if you're playing Kasai Limited, this might do something other than it also just might kill you as well for the same reasons I said before. When they're just like, me smash you, pitch 3, attack 8, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try to keep this seduce secrets. Yeah. Yeah, pitch 4, attack
Instant.
11. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look at your hand and draw a card. Oh, you're gonna hit me for an 11 again next turn. Okay, cool.
Yeah, to be fair, hilarious.
Yeah.
It's not even like you can use this into gold at instant speed because gold is an action, isn't it? You can't.
Yep.
You can't filter this into your gold to draw a card either. You have to do that as an action on your turn.
If it had like, you may put the card on there. Like if you look at the top card of their deck, you can put it on the bottom if you want.
That'd be great.
I think that would be interesting, right?
Fate Seal. Oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, like I think that would be a good sort of stat line for this card to be. If you could, because it doesn't impact their turn as it is, but it impacts their turn later. In a way where it's like, oh, you see their Codex of Frailty or something after they've blocked a decent amount, and you have this in your arsenal. It's like, okay, well, I can put that on the bottom and potentially save myself from a thing.
So if we're all in agreement that this is kind of jank, what is the actual like best jank case scenario for this? And I can think of two reasons why you would want to look at the top card of your opponent's deck, other than like being like, oh, this is what you're going to draw, I can play around it or whatever. Or just know that you're going to die. So one of them is pretty obvious, and that would be Arachne, or just Assassin with contract cards. So you can see the top card of their deck, so you can tell if you're going to want to do the contract or whatever. But with Arachne, you get to do that anyway, right? His hero ability, or their hero ability, lets you just do that anyway. And this combined with the hero ability is like also like pointless, because if you put it back on top and then you do this, you just see the card that you literally just put back on top. Or hear me out, grinding gears mechanologist.
Yeah.
So you can play this a grinding gears mech to see what cards you want to grind away.
Yeah, that's based.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
I hope there's some winning calling deck lists with seduce secrets in its list. Come on, somebody has to use it.
Hey, if someone's got like the super secret tech, let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah, absolutely, very interested.
It has to be better than grinding gears mech, all right? And it has to. You can't just say like, oh, an Arachne. It has to be like actually like.
Yeah, there has to be a strategy.
Yeah. Like,
jeez,
it can't just be a crack bauble that you get to look at your opponent's hand with, right? Yeah, like,
brilliant.
Yeah.
I think for it to be like worthwhile to keep it around in your arsenal, I think you would have to have the lost in thought text on it, like if played from arsenal or something, like the card that you look at from hand on top of deck. Maybe you can choose to put both of them on the bottom. Or
you know it would be awesome if you could swap them. If you're like, look at the top card of your deck and the card from their hand, and then you could swap the cards. That would be cool.
Oh, that's wild. Actually, I like that a lot.
Yeah, that would be sick. Okay, wait. I have another case for this card. Okay, so in UPF, these are all terrible. I mean, amazing decks. So in UPF, this could go into my Bobble Dunk Ranger deck. So I can look at the top card of their deck to make sure if it's dunkable, right? So like you can do the thing where you put the bobble on top and then dunk the bobble. But there are other cases where like maybe they have something terrible on top, like a fabled or something, like a heart or an eye, and you can be like, ooh, now I'm gonna dunk that into your arsenal. So
yeah,
I think you could run this in the Bobble Dunk deck. So there's that. You can run this in the Bobble Dunk UPF deck. The deck's already jank enough, so this isn't gonna hurt the deck all that much.
I'm trying to hate it, and I can't hate it.
It's impossible.
Yeah, like seduce secrets into Codex of Inertia, dunking their Eye of Ophidia into their arsenal is I want to see that. I want to see that happen.
Yeah, huge feel bad.
Yeah.
all of our faces would be like the like the guy on the art. Look at his face; he's just like, yeah. If that happens,
Oh man.
the
Yeah,
thumbnail needs to be Seduce Secrets art. If you can get a high res of that, I'm not sure if you can, but
probably not. Sam doesn't often post his art, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, that guy's face. Yeah, it's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let us know why Seduce Secrets is your favorite card from the set in the comments down below.
Yeah. Also, just in general, what cards are you most excited for? What is speaking to you? Interested to see how this set is working for people, especially those that don't play the 3 classes that are in here. Always interested.
There is a card that I'm really excited for in Limited. I don't know if it has a full cycle. I've only seen the red version. It's called Down But Not Out. And I think this card is like...
this card's good.
This card's also just Big Chungus in Limited.
Big Chungus tempo swing. Yeah.
Yeah, the card's sweet. So it's a 3-drop. It's a red pitch. Like I said, I don't know if there's a cycle. I don't know if this is a yellow and blue. All I've seen is the red. But it's a 3-drop, red, blocks for 3. I would have assumed this card blocks for 2 based on what it does, but it actually blocks for 3, which is like kind of crazy. And has a base attack of 5. Don't worry, it's going to actually be attacking for 8, but it has a base attack for 5. And it says, when this attacks a hero, if you have less life and control hero equipment and tokens than them, this gets +3 overpower, and when it hits, create an agility, might, and vigor token. So,
bananas.
So if you have less life and less equipment and tokens, which I can see that happening like a lot, like that's not uncommon at all, then this is a 3 for 8 with overpower on hit, create 1 of all the tokens, and it also blocks for 3. I think this card's sweet, and I think this is going to be a limited, like a very high pick in Limited, in my opinion. This is just a rare. It's not a majestic. So if you're like drafting, I don't know if I'm going to pass this that often. As someone who really enjoys drafting and the draft experience, dude, this card is like premium. Outside of like some of the majestics and legendaries and stuff, this card's a banger, dude. And even in freaking KO, it counts as a 6 attack for the discard stuff because it's a 5 attack. I guess you probably wouldn't want this on Reinar or whatever, but even then, 3 for 8, pretty good. Yeah.
And obviously with the equipment as well that we were talking about earlier, some of the equipment just say destroy this, get a thing. So you can actually strip off your equipment to make sure that you have got less equipment than your opponent as well. And you can sort of satisfy that condition a bit easier by just destroying or getting naked, which is what I like.
So
strip violently.
So like what this card reminds me of is like Wounded Bull, right? Like but like obviously a much higher upside, and everyone was like, oh, Wounded Bull 3 for 7, 3 for 8, but doesn't do any, like no evasion or no on hit. But this is like a 3 for 8 with overpower, and then also makes all those tokens if it hits. I think this card's really good. I don't know how good it's for like constructed, but for Limited, this card's a banger, dude.
I mean, like somebody, I think it was in our local Discord, was talking about it. I can't find the discussion right now, but somebody mentioned that this kind of feels like majestic power level rare, and I don't disagree. This is a lot of stuff. If it was like pick 1 of the tokens, then I'd be like, okay, sure, this is a rare. The fact that it gives all 3 and it blocks for 3 kind of feels like a majestic.
It blocks for 3 too.
Yeah,
of course.
3 blocks. So like
must be a red cycle only.
So yeah, I'm guessing it's only red, and I think they put it as a rare for Limited. Like I think this is just like this is your like one of your Limited all-star finishers. Like this is one of your high pick cards. Yeah, this card's like crazy good. Yeah,
kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
I definitely agree.
That's one of the ones that stood out to me. Any other ones stand out to any of y'all?
I don't know whether we mentioned Bill's spoiler card, whether that was before we started recording or not, but that was quite cool.
Correct. Yeah, we didn't actually.
Other hat.
So there's a very interesting there was a very interesting like just amount of discourse that was on the the purple Discord when this came out, and the consensus was if Olympia has good gold payoff cards, this helmet's like insane. Like this helmet is really, really good. If there aren't very many gold payoffs, then like the helmet is fine, but then Olympia doesn't do anything. So it's kind of like, I think that the long and short of it, from what I understand, is that this helmet is good in Olympia, period. And if Olympia is good, this helmet is crazy. What it is, prized Galea. Its warrior equipment head has temper 2, and it's the Olympia specialization. It's a rare, as we were mentioning. And it has attack reaction red, destroy this. Target weapon attack you control. Wagers a gold token with the defending hero. So very specifically, it is only weapon attack, which makes it a little bit awkward.
Yeah.
But I think it's offset by being a source of wager that's at attack reaction speed.
Yeah.
Most of the other stuff that we've seen, I think there's maybe only one other reaction that does wager stuff. Everything else is very telegraphed. And obviously this is telegraphed by being an equipment that's on board, but you can also choose your spot for it. And I think 90% of the time when you're activating this, it reads create 2 golds because you also win the wager and you have Olympia's ability. So like one resource create 2 golds is an insane rate for golds.
Yes. And again, it was it's all part of the damned if you do, damned if you don't. Also, again, because you've got that starts in place, stays in play, gold generator on a reaction. So it's very similar to the assassin cards that obviously Kel's spoiled to high hell. It's very similar to those where you've got this, and there's the mechanic of like Scowling Fleshbag. You've always got this thing that's hanging over your opponent's head. Is they could activate this at any time. It's hard to quantify what that means because I don't know I don't know how many more cards we've got left, but yeah, I think it's great. And as we were discussing earlier as well, the helmets, you can easily put this helmet on rather than just run your standard Crown of Providence or generic helmet. All these characters now have a specialization which really synergizes with them. So yeah, it's very, very, very cool. And I will definitely be using this when I probably build Olympia. So
yeah,
lovely card.
Yeah, very, very excited to have been able to spoil that because I think if Olympia is again, I don't think it's like if Olympia is good, this card is good. I think it's just this card is good, play it in Olympia.
Yeah, that's right.
This does what you want it to do, and it blocks for 2.
And also, the art was Carlos Cruchaga as well.
Huge shout out.
Which we all know is one of your favorites.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Although I will say, I also am a big fan of Othon Nicolaitis and Iswardi Therianto, specifically because of Barcelona.
That's right.
Yeah, Othon Nicolaitis is just like a cool guy. He just like I hung out with him like for about 5 or 10 minutes every day, and he was just like, "Yeah, how's it going, man?" Like he was very chill. I owe him a cup of coffee. The next one that I see him at. So
yeah,
nice.
Did you show off your watercolor artist proof on the podcast before? I think you did. Didn't you?
I think I did. I don't know where it is off the top of my head, but yeah, I got I think I mentioned it right after we came back from Barcelona because it was a big deal. I got fabled CNC artist proof.
Yes.
With like a beautiful, beautiful watercolor on the back. Yeah, huge fan and very funny. On the first day when I saw it, it was Othon Nicolaitis was actually talking to a gentleman, and I was like, "Oh, I want this CNC," and the guy that he was talking to was like, "Oh, that's okay. Okay, you can have it." And I was like, "Whoa! If you were already talking about it, then I don't want to like step in on anything." And he's like, "No, it's good." And he recognized me, and I was like, "Oh, this is really cool." Turns out it was Iswardi Therianto.
Oh yeah.
And I felt so bad for not recognizing him.
Iswardi's gonna. He and I are gonna do something cool. Mid-February, I think, is when he said he was available. So he drew a Shikishi of Uzuri for me. So it's like a big square drawing for me last year, and he was like, I can't remember how it came up. It was a piece of his art, and I complimented it, and I don't remember how the back and forth went, but he was like, "Oh, I'm open. Just DM me." And I was like, "Oh, well, I have an idea." So I DM'd him, and long story short, he's going to be doing another Shikishi for me, but much more like personal custom one. So it's gonna be really sweet. Because I was like, "Are you down with drawing non-flesh and blood characters?" And he's like, "Oh yeah," and I'm like, "Okay, sweet." So
Nice. Good.
I'm commissioning him to draw one of my Project Red Zone characters, or my original characters. So yeah,
Very cool.
Sick.
on a Shikishi board. I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be really sweet. It's gonna go up back over there.
Izuwari's loving life right now. The amount of commissions he's done for Azalea stuff as well is just all over the place. It's just like it's great to see that a lot of people have gravitated towards him for Azalea stuff as well because of the premeditate art, which I just love to see that. So yeah, it's just he's great. He's fantastic. But all the artists are, so shout out to them all.
Yeah.
But
Every single artist that I've ever interacted with has been phenomenal. Just
Yeah.
very cool people.
My spoiler card just immediately made me a fan of that artist. I believe her name is. Hold on, let me find the card. I don't want to misattribute the art. Where can I find it? Yeah, Ina. Okay, yeah, I thought it was Ina. So Ina Wong, and I looked her up. She's not on Twitter, unfortunately, but she is on ArtStation, and she just does art for League of Legends and other stuff, like just
sweet.
Just art for League of Legends. You find her, and she's just like, here's a bunch of League of Legends art, and it makes a lot of sense because her art's like just fantastic. And that reminds me of several other artists. I think she's also from Indonesia. So like Crovius that I've worked with before, who's also helped me design characters, as well as Silvia Meliani. Both of them also do art for League of Legends. So I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, looking at Ina's art station now, it's very Red Zone Rogue, very sort of anime style sort of stuff. So I can see why they gave you that card as well for that reason. Because I was like, when it was just me and you on the podcast, I was like, oh, it's got to be a waifu card. It's got to have a lady on it, and lo and behold, it definitely did.
I mean, yeah, they gave me the best, like they gave me
The
like
best one.
S tier waifu best, art in the set. So yeah,
S tier holy thighball with bit of arse showing as well.
Dude, she's like ripped as hell too. Like she does not skip leg day or abs day. Like she's got like an 8-pack almost, man. She's like
could literally just like leg press me on her like this, pure just leg press, pure strength.
Anyway.
But yeah. Boar Squad rise up. Anyway.
That's right.
Yeah, anyway, so I think that just about wraps it up. I do also actually, just to round out the fact that we've been talking about legendaries, talk about the last legendary in the set. Very, very quickly, just touch on it. Because it's a pretty straightforward card. Apex Bonebreaker is a brute arm legendary. Temper 2. So this is competing for a spot with Gambler's Gloves. Like, just first and foremost, Gambler's Gloves is the brute arm. So this is sort of in that slot. But I think it's really cool. When this defends together with a card with 6 or more defense, create or 6 or more attack, sorry. When this defends together with a card with 6 or more attack, create a might token.
Yeah.
So that obviously increases your next attack by +1. And you can block with it twice because it has temper.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool card.
Brutes really didn't have much options for it. So like this is good that they have this.
Yeah. Good sort of tank up fridge option.
We can speed run some other brute stuff because we didn't really talk about brute stuff. So good friend of the podcast, Ian Kenderdine spoiled a card called Knucklehead, which is the KO specialization. It's the KO hat. This one is a temper 2 block. Action, destroy this, roll a 6-sided die until end of turn. Your base intellect is the number rolled. Which is
I love this.
Which is doofy and very much up to like traditional like KO kind of thing. So you could just draw 6 cards, which is cool.
In
brute, which is wild.
Yeah.
I apologize to Ian because I've not seen the video, but that is absolutely. I haven't seen this card yet. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So if you roll a 6, you get to draw 6 cards at the end of your turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
But this is
Jesus.
another universe or another card where if you don't have Gambler's Gloves and you roll a 1, it sucks.
Yeah. So yes. So this doesn't increase the number. This makes your base number that. So like Bill said, if you get lower than a 4, you're gonna be real sad.
So it's a 50-50. It's a 50-50 chance that you're okay, normal intellect. And then after that, it's I don't know how to explain it, but yeah, 50% of the time you're going to be okay or better. Is what it is. Yeah,
And 50% of the time you're going to be very sad.
If you
50% of the time you're data doll or worse.
If you get a 1 to 3, you're very sad. If you get a 4, you're fine. If you get a 5 or 6, you're happy. So actually, you have a much higher chance to be sad because you have 3 hits, right? 1, 2, and 3 to be sad, and then only a 5 or 6 to be happy, and then you have just the 4. So
but this card I think feels even better than rolling a 6 on Scabskins, to be fair.
You know, the funniest thing would be like Knucklehead draw 6 next turn, start off Scabskins, roll a 1. Like, you're just dead. You're just so.
Oh my god!
Like, not.
What an awful experience.
Yeah. So
Brutes really lived cursed lives.
Yeah, I wanted to point that one out. There's the Rhinar specialization. So here's the Rhinar hat. This one has Battle Worn, but it only blocks for 1. And it just says, it's called Monstrous Veil. And it says, destroy this, draw a card, then discard a random card, go again. I'm not as like high on this one. Maybe some Rhinar fans are pretty stoked on this. You know, you can get that Intimidate, right? Because you discard the 6 cost. But it's a random one. I don't know why you'd run this over like Scowling Fleshbag, to be honest. So you probably run this because you're playing limited. That's my take on this card.
Yeah, it's the block version of what's the Arcane Barrier 2 one from
Skullhorn.
Skullhorn. Yeah, it's the like block version of Skullhorn, basically.
Yeah.
It is just a way to trigger random discard effect.
It's just strange that this would probably be too powerful if it said destroy this, draw a card, then discard a card, rather than discard a random card. Probably be too good, wouldn't it?
I don't know. Like
it would be pretty good.
They're letting you do that with Beat Chest, so I don't know why they wouldn't do it here. I don't know.
Yeah. But the funny thing is about all the stuff that we've mentioned today, specializations, who benefits from that? Shiana.
I mean, you can wear this with Shiana. If you do, you're a coward because you should be wearing Knucklehead instead.
You should be, exactly.
Yeah, you should actually be doing Knucklehead and not the other one.
Knucklehead, Victor's Shield, Vincett's Whip. You know.
Yeah, somebody put together a new edit of
someone did. I saw it on Twitter. Yeah.
That's what I was alluding to.
Yeah, big fan.
Yeah.
Of just all the really weird, eclectic garbage that she can wear now.
Absolutely.
Yep, she's just a trash panda.
Yeah.
So the
Shiana the Scavenger.
And the other brute cards I wanted to point out are the weapons. And so these are both one-handed weapons, which is important because I really wanted to see what one-handed weapons are going to give to KO that weren't the claws. And so we have 2. One of them is called Ball Breaker. It's a one-handed flail. It attacks for 3, costs 2 to attack with, and it says if you discarded a card with 6 or more attack this turn, it gets +1. So this is potentially a 2 for 4, which is like fine, right? You know, it's like a romping club-esque kind of deal, but it's only a one-hand, so you can do it with KO. And then there's the mini meat axe, which does exactly what you'd guess a meat axe would do. Once per turn action, cost of 2 to attack. It only attacks for 3. And it says when it attacks, draw a card, then discard a random card. And it is a one-hander. Both of these are rare. Neither of them are tokens or common, so you do have to draft them in limited. Yeah, that's those are the brute cards that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's pretty good that obviously KO can't use 2 of these, but Rhinar could use both weapons here rather than the claws. If you wanted to, you could run some weird and wacky.
You can double ball break, double ball breaker,
double balls. Let's go.
We actually don't know what the token brute weapons are yet. Actually, like we don't actually know yet. The only brute weapons we know are those 2 cards. We do know what the token guardian weapon is. And it's called High Riser. It's a hammer that has a cost of 3 to attack. And it says if you've drawn a card this turn, it gets +1. Doesn't feel great, to be honest. 3 for a 4 conditional, or 3 for a 3 is just not great in my opinion. But that's the token one, High Riser. I'm very curious to see what the other token equipment pieces are. Yeah, because
something I do want to point out, just very randomly, and to interject here. Has anybody else noticed how horny the names of cards are in this set?
Yeah, I mean, they're alluding. They're more what's the word? Sophomore-ish, right? So you got. Well, no, like high school jokes. Yeah,
like there's Ball Breaker,
Pound.
Raw Meat. Pound Town is another good one.
Yeah. Raw Meat's a good one. Pound Town. Yeah, here's Pound Town.
Oh, have you heard about Miller's Grindstone?
You can take him to Pound Town.
Miller's got a big grindstone.
What's another good one? What's another? There are a few that are like, it's mostly the equipment too that have like just randomly really.
I do like Big Bop.
Big Bop is good. That's not horny. That's just good though.
Yeah, there's Big Bop.
Vigor Girth.
Vigor Girth.
That's the one. Vigor Girth. Yeah, like why you gotta call it that? I'm not okay with that one.
That's brilliant.
Vigor Girth.
It would have been great if you got Stadium Centerpiece here. That would have been great if it was called Stadium Ring Piece.
Bro.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It's getting late for me, so I'm just going mental now.
I was about to say, I think it's getting late for all of us. I think we should probably look to wrap it up. That was a good conversation though about some of the cards that we're seeing in heavy hitters.
It was indeed, yeah.
For my Arsenal step, just like a very quick one, because I did say that I was going to mention why I was absent from the last podcast, and then we just hopped straight into it.
Yeah.
But I was on vacation for about a week, just over a week, and there are a bunch of storms right now on like the West Coast, and specifically in like Calgary. I'm not from Calgary, for those of you who don't know me. From the spectators, I'm in Manitoba, which is in smack dab in the middle of Canada. But the initial flight that I was supposed to take was routed through Calgary from California. I was in California for a little bit, and so my flight that was supposed to be on Saturday got canceled, and the earliest available flight after that was Monday. So my girlfriend and I had to just kill 2 additional days that we weren't anticipating. We were stuck in Calgary, or in California, which is not a terrible place to be stuck in, especially like when I checked the temperature differential. I think it was 60 degrees at the time in California, which is like cold for them. But in Calgary at the time, it was -40. These are both Fahrenheit, by the way. So it was a 100-degree Fahrenheit temperature differential.
It's like, so here it's like frozen over because I'm also West Coast, and it's like 20 degrees right now, with freezing rain. Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah.
20 degrees of freezing rain. What the hell?
20 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's like below zero.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Makes
sense.
Yeah. So that was what I was up to. It was very, very fun. But outside of that, I am glad to be home and glad to be back on the podcast.
glad to have you back.
Amen.
My Arsenal step's pretty quick. I've just been playing more video games lately because we've been snowed in. I've been working on content, but also just playing a lot of video games. And I was like, you know what? I want to go finish some games that I never finished, but I got really close. So I went back, and luckily my save files transferred for these games from my PS4 to my PS5. But I went back and I finished Red Dead Redemption 2, Ghosts of Tsushima, and those are the 2 big ones that I actually like finished over like the last couple days. Both great games, both like really beautiful open world games where you just ride a horse around and just kill people, I guess, that are like super loosely historically based. In both cases, they take a lot of liberties on a lot of stuff, but that's like, yeah, it's kind of like an Assassin's Creed game. The charm is just to be like, oh, look at me, I'm just running around doing dumb stuff. So yeah, those are enjoyable. I will say between the two, Red Dead Redemption 2's story is like really good. It's got a really good story, and for folks who know, I guess people don't really know this all that much about me, but I was born in Wyoming, so like the whole like cowboy aesthetic, while not something I partake in these days because I live in Portland, Oregon, something that I'm very much aware of and grew up with. So it's, I don't know, it's got this like loose personal connection. It's just really good. Yeah, I like stories where there's no clear cut good guys or bad guys. Everyone's just a person, and all people have shades of gray. And it's a story that's very much like that. So it's good. Nice. It's also depressing because I already know what happens, and because I played the first one as well. But so recommended for one of the most popular games of the past decade, Red Dead Redemption 2 from me.
To be fair, you're speaking to the right person, because I've never played those games, even though they're Rockstar games and they're very, very well received. I still have never played them.
Incredibly good story. Yeah, it's just good. The gameplay is also pretty good too. The controls are a little weird, like going from other games to them. Like you tap X to run and hold X to run. It's just weird controls. Yeah, whereas like other games,
a GTA thing though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just weird. Because with other games you just like press the stick in and then they just auto run. But this one you have to. So it's like weird going from like Ghost of Tsushima to Red Dead. The controls are just like they're just weird. But still good. Nice. And like I won't spoil anything, but like the epilogue is like 20 hours long. It's insane. The game is insanely big. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything else if you just haven't played it for whatever reason, because the spoilers are worth not being spoiled on. Let me put it that way. But that's my Arsenal step. How about you guys?
Nice. I've just been playing Baldur's Gate still. On my new save file, which is based on a character that I've had done recently, which will be revealed soon, has now surpassed my Azalea playthrough, when I basically made an Azalea character. So my Demiana playthrough, which is the character's name, has now surpassed that game, and I've done so much more in the actual Baldur's Gate city. Completed a few other character quest lines in different ways, and just got getting a lot further into it. I'm maximum level now as well, so I'm just owning everything. Astarion is just absolutely rinsing people, even in combat. He's just got dual wielding. I think it's the knife that you get from killing his main questline boss. That knife is mental, and when he becomes the thing at the end, it's just like, he's just pure OP. So yeah, focus on that storyline quite a lot. But yeah, just been playing that again, really, just to pass some time. And that's pretty much it. No, not really much flesh and blood stuff going on at the moment, because it's still spoiler season. I just want to start cracking those packs and building those decks and those heroes, really. So that's it.
I will not be doing much like physical flesh and blood playing or anything until like probably like mid-February when I'm back from Japan. Because assuming the weather is not terrible and I can actually fly there, this weekend I'm going to California for the Shadowverse LCQ, the last chance qualifier, and then I have a week buffer, and then the week after that I'm going to Japan for basically a full week. I'll be gone from I leave on a Wednesday and I come back on a Thursday or Tuesday. So yeah, almost a full week.
Sweet. But make sure you get some good videos. Then while you're over there.
Yeah, it'll be a little tricky because a lot of places in Akihabara don't let you film like inside. So
Yeah, that's true. Hey.
so we'll see. I'm definitely going to be doing a vlog, but it might just be me standing outside of a card shop, being like, "Oh, yeah, this card shop's kind of cool," rather than going in the
Yeah,
card shop.
it's funny because like I watch a YouTube channel called Metal Jesus Rocks, basically like a retro game collector, and he goes to Japan quite a lot, and he films inside the video game shops. So maybe it's just the card shops that might not be allowed, sort of thing.
Well, I know for 100% certainty, almost all the card shops in Akihabara don't allow it. There's only like a couple that do.
Yeah.
And a lot of places just generally don't let you, but I know some YouTubers do it anyway. Like, I watched one who did a thing. He actually went into some card shops and he called it the Ninja Cam, and I think he just hid like a GoPro in his like shirt or something.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do, to be honest. But I'd probably be more eccentric about it. Wait, we're inside a card shop.
Yeah. So,
yeah. But no, yeah, that'll be good fun. Look forward to seeing whatever you pictures or whatever you do there. Be interested to see that.
Yep, I've already started to officially plan a lot of stuff out, like how I'm walking to the venue, blah 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 blah, all that kind of
Nice.
stuff. The ride from Narita Airport to Akihabara is like an hour long though, so I need to plan that out a little bit more. I might just take the train, but I don't know. Well, I'm still planning that part out, but
yeah. We'll see.
Yeah. Trip to California this weekend is going to be easy as cake though, so
oh yeah,
that'll be easy.
Yeah.
Well, nice for you.
Yeah, it's like an hour flight. I'm flying like first class. It's like super chill, and I used to live in California, so I don't know, it'd be easy. But
nice.
Japan is a whole other story. We'll see. But,
Yeah.
Times.
Yeah, that's
well,
all.
yeah. Anyway,
That's that.
I think that will just about wrap us up for the week. So we'll do a quick roundtable just to shout out all of our stuff and then call it there. I am, again, the host of this episode. I am Bill from the Spike Feeders. You can find me on social media at BillTSF. You can also find me on YouTube at the Spike Feeders Fab. We do live edited gameplay content. We are going to be doing stuff covering heavy hitters decks very shortly. And yeah, if that's something that interests you, you should definitely check us out. And now alphabetically, we will go to Az.
Yeah, so I'm Az from Go Again Gaming. No spoiler for me this season, unfortunately, or what seems like no spoiler for me. But
you got yours like right away.
Right away, bloody hell! I was coming back from Worlds Barcelona, and I basically did a hint as to what it would be. It seems like so long ago now, but can't wait to get the heavy hitters stuff out there. But yeah, I'm Az from Go Again Gaming AZ on Twitter, and yeah, stay tuned to my channel because I'm going to Hartford in a few weeks. That's going to be my next load of videos that's coming out for SCG Con, which is going to be fun. So yeah, I'll be there and playing a lot of the aforementioned heavy hitters, and hopefully getting some cool sealed pulls for Olympia. We'll see, because I definitely want to do that. Maybe pick up all the cards I need for it while I'm there, just on the weekend, because that's probably when they'll be the cheapest, perhaps, or is that the most expensive? I don't know how it goes.
It depends on how
most expensive.
high. Yeah, it depends on how high people are on Olympia versus a different class. If there's a different hero that people are really hyping up, then it's possible that will drive down the prices of Olympia stuff because people will be wanting the other hero stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if you can get
everything
like good prices on stuff, then I don't see why not. Especially because
Yeah.
you'll be opening stuff you could trade things that are also increased in value, sort of deal.
Yeah. We'll see. But
yeah,
looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then last and certainly not least, Kel.
Hello, I'm Kel. You can find me at everywhere at Red Zone Rogue, and I talk about card games. That's about that. I have a really cool. Tomorrow I have a really cool interview with Dave Gardner, the creator of a game that I've been really, really excited for called Grim Path, which is a war game TCG hybrid. And just saying that doesn't do it justice. It really, really feels like a war game. And one of the biggest parts is like when I was playtesting the demo that he sent me. that like I cared about the minis more than I cared about the cards, which just says a lot. It's just really, really, really fun. And Dave is a video game industry veteran, so he's a video game developer. So this is his first foray into card games. He's a super chill dude. We chat for like 2 hours. And just to give you a little bit of like, a clout, I guess, for what he's done. If you're familiar with a game studio called Double Fine, you might be familiar with the games like Psychonauts and Brutal Legend. Well, he worked on both of those games and a bunch of other stuff too. So, Dave is like he's a video game veteran, but this is his first foray into tabletop. So it's a really fun talk. So check that out tomorrow.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's good.
definitely go check that out, everybody.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I think that will just about wrap it up for today. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, my lovely co-hosts, for joining me as always. Thank you, the listener or viewer at home, for hanging out with us. We always do appreciate your support. And as a bit of engagement bait, what is your favorite card from Heavy Hitters? And why is it Pound Town?
Why is it Frontline Scout?
Why is it Frontline Scout? Yeah, everybody talk about how expensive Frontline Scout's going to be in the comments.
Ooh,
But
the LL pod effect.
Yeah, it's going from 15 cents to 12 cents.
Let's go.
woo! Yeah, it goes down.
Yeah.
That's the LL pod effect, baby.
Everything as says goes down in value.
Yeah, they're
because it
like,
just
oh yeah,
sucks
this
so
card
trash.
does suck. Oh yeah, it does
Yeah.
suck. And so
Holy hell.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But anyway, thanks again, everybody, for hanging out with us. Stay well, stay safe, and we'll catch you all next week.
bye.
But as just accentuates all the trash cards. They just decrease in value afterwards.
I absolutely
Great.
love the concept of as talks about a card and it goes down.
It goes down.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh god.
That's very fun.